Hello everyone, my name is Jerome Porter and welcome back to Sparecast Tech Review, where I help guide you on the best way to spend your money on the latest tech. All right, today's episode is going to be on VR cameras. We're looking at 360 VR and 180 3D VR. Before I get too deep into the cameras, I'll give you some idea. A 360 VR is a camera that has the ability to see everything that's in front of you and everything behind you. 180 3D are cameras that allow you to see only what's directly in front of you, but you get to see it the way your eyes perceive. You get to see the depth. You get to see a 3D image, so it's more realistic. Both of these cameras are capable of doing 360 VR. Only one of them is capable of doing 180 3D. We'll dig deep into that. We'll start with the Insta 360 EVO. This camera shoots 360 VR, and you can only tell if it's 360 because it'll be a camera in the front, and then there'll be also a camera in the rear. And the front camera captures everything in front of you, and the rear camera captures everything behind you. The software stitches those two videos together to give you a 360-degree view. The Insta360 EVO has another feature where if you slide the cameras for it this way, and it actually turns into a 180 3D camera. So instead of one lens being on the front and one being on the back, both of them are in front of you, and the two cameras in front of you actually simulate your vision, or the way that your brain perceives information. So it takes two images. One is slightly different than the other, but it's enough for when your brain compiles those two images together, you're able to perceive depth. So you're able to tell what's closer to you and what's further away. And that's one of the big, I would say one of the bigger deals about the Insta360 EVO because of the 3D feature. The Max, the GoPro Max has a 360 video where it has a lens and a camera in the front and a camera on the rear, so you're able to get video all the way around you, but it does not have the ability to give you 3D video. So that's probably one of the I would say where the strength lies more with the Insta360 EVO when it comes to 3D video. You don't get 3D video with the GoPro Max. Another thing of the Insta360 video has shoots at about 5.7K resolution, which is higher than 4K, at about 30 frames per second. And if you get it down to about 3K, you actually get about 100 frames per second. So if you're looking to get some slow motion, this camera is really good for that. The GoPro Max shoots at 5.6K resolution at 30 frames per second, and you can probably get a high frame rate about 60 frames per second at 1080p HD or 1920 by 1080 resolution. It'll give you 60. You can still get pretty decent slow motion with 60 frames per second also. Some of the other different things, I'll kind of go back and forth between what camera one camera has and what the other one doesn't have. The Insta360 does not have a screen. So the only way that you can really see what the camera sees is there's a cell phone. You have your cell phone and there's an app that you download, and it wirelessly connects to your cell phone so you can kind of see whatever you're viewing. The GoPro Max has its own built-in screen. It's actually a touch screen, so you can actually see. You don't need a cell phone to be able to record or be able to see what you're trying to record, because you can actually see it on here, or you can use your phone. I will say one of the big difference between these cameras, let me say this first. Neither one of these cameras do very well in low light conditions. If there's not a whole lot of light, I don't think neither one of these cameras perform well. I think this is a lot of grain. It just doesn't look very well. These cameras, they excel. I think both of them do fairly well in very well lit conditions, like outside, or if you're inside of a building that's very well lit. These cameras do a very good job. In terms of picture quality, they both can be, I think they're relatively sharp when the lighting is good. I mean, when there's no light, the sharpness, I think it's gone. The video just falls apart. This particular camera, the Insta360 EVO, does have something over the GoPro Max. It has a feature called HDR, which means high dynamic range, or HDR. And what that basically does is this camera simultaneously takes a quick snap, a dark picture or whatever is ever filming, and also a very bright, and it combines them. And what it basically does is it can, how can I put it? It makes where your brights are not too bright, and also it makes your dark areas they know it gives ability to have some detail. Sometimes normally cameras that have a low dynamic range, they normally anything that's white is completely blown out. So if there's like a pillowcase or a sweater or something and it's white, you don't really get to see the detail in the sweater because the white kind of overruns the detail. Also with darker, another bad thing with low dynamic range is that if you shoot something that's dark and it may have some texture in it, all you see is just completely black because the dynamic range is too low. HDR takes the best of both worlds, combines it, so you kind of get a balance where you actually get to see detail in the bright areas and also see some detail in the dark areas. So this camera has this with the video and with photos, because both cameras do video and photo. This camera here, the only problem with doing HDR with the video, it will not allow you to preview on your cell phone. So normally whenever you're recording, when you hit record on this, and with non-HDR mode, you can actually, if you're taking a picture, you can see what's on your phone, or if you're doing video, you can see what's on your phone. But if you put this in HDR mode, you'll be able to see the photos when you take them, but you will not be able to see the preview on your phone doing HDR mode. I don't know, maybe that's beyond the capability of the camera's processor. I'm not really sure. Also, both cameras does have software that you can actually install on your computer to kind of preview the footage. I found that the GoPro Max, they have a software for it. I don't have the name of it. I'll probably post it on the bottom of the screen, where it doesn't really work that well, or I've had some difficulties with really getting it to process the video, because it's normally you're looking for either H.264 format or MPEG, whatever. This has a whole different format. So you can't just pop it out and just put it in playback and anything. It has to be a specific player. And I just haven't really had the best experience with actually previewing the video as soon as you can wirelessly connect it to the phone, and you can actually play back whatever you recorded in a cell phone with the GoPro app, and that works fairly well. But trying to view it on a computer, it's a little bit more difficult. The Insta360 EVO, on the other hand, has a really cool feature that the GoPro Max doesn't have. If you have an Oculus Go, and I think I did an episode on VR headsets not too long ago, the Oculus Go, if you record video on this, the Oculus Go can wirelessly connect to this unit. So you can instantly see whatever you record. And not only do you get to see it, you get to see it in virtual reality. So you get to see, especially if you shoot it in 180 3D, it's just very real. It's like you're actually there. So pairing this up with an Oculus Go, you get a real good submersive experience. The GoPro Max, I haven't seen. I think you can probably upload the video. There's a software that I believe you can export. You have to take the SD card out of here, put it on your computer, export it as a file. I think it's MPEG. It'll let you, or H.264. I don't remember the format, and then maybe upload it to YouTube, and then maybe use a VR headset, and you probably can get to it that way. But that's a lot of a process that's going on, a lot of steps, versus with the Insta360 EVO, you can immediately put your headsets on, and bam, you're good to go. Now, I will say this: if you are, sorry, I was just making sure my camera is running, my video audio was going. The only problem, if you're professional, neither one of these cameras are going to do well if you're a professional videographer. If you're looking to get into a professional virtual reality or professional VR, the cameras you probably want to take a look at is the Insta360 Pro or the Obsidian R or the S model. Those, $4,000 or $5,000 camera, VR cameras, and if you're professional, if you're doing real estate or whatever reason you may be using a high quality VR camera, those are the brands you're going to go with. These two units, I don't think something I would use for professional VR. It's also, as far as stands, this camera does come with this stand. So if you buy this camera, at least when I purchased it, it came with this the stand here. The GoPro Max actually has, which is actually pretty cool, it has these little flip out feet on the bottom of it, so you can actually hook a selfie stick, or GoPro actually makes their own little stick where you can kind of hold it, and you can actually, walk around with it and record your video. Now, with that being said, neither one of these cameras do very well just hand holding these things. They have built-in stabilization. I still, after watching the 360 video, especially in the VR headsets, maybe if you're just watching it on the cameras, probably, on your cell phone previews, not so bad. But when you're actually watching the video in the VR headsets, it gets kind of woozy. So I would suggest getting something like one of these stabilizers, and make sure you get one that actually can hold your camera, because I had one that couldn't hold this one. So you have to make sure you get one that can. And what this does is that whenever you move, it keeps the camera stable. So you want to try to look for getting a stabilizer recording 360 footage. It looks much better, and it assists and helps a lot more with the built-in stabilization. So I think if there's any other thing with these cameras. For the most part, I guess I'll just sum it up. If I had to say which camera is best, I would say the Insta 360 EVO. I would say it's better because the ability to be able to instantly preview what you recorded with a headset, a VR headset, by wirelessly transmitting. You're also able to get 180 video and 360. I mean, you can get 180 in this configuration, and then you can also get 360. You have to snap this and hold this in place, and you can get 360 in this particular configuration. You get the HDR mode. You get the higher frame rate at 3K. If you shoot at 3K, you get a higher frame rate for slow motion. The GoPro Max, I think it does a very good job with 360. And also it does a very good job with photos. Both of these cameras also do photos in 360, but this one does it also in 180 3D. If you put this in like GoPro mode, where it actually only uses one camera, it kind of acts as an extra camera, and it's actually very good quality. Actually, the quality when it's just using one lens is really good. Other than that, I would probably, if I had my choice between the two, I think the Insta360 EVO is a better VR camera. I do think that, in low light conditions, you please don't have high expectations with neither one of these cameras, because unless it's well lit indoors, or unless you're outside on a bright sunny day, you're going to probably be a little disappointed with the quality of the video, especially in low light conditions. It's really not impressive at all. Almost considered at one point taking them back. I was so upset at first, but once I shot them in well lit situations, it looked much better. So anyway, so that is the end of my review. If you have any questions, feel free to write them, in my YouTube channel, or please subscribe if you want to see more of more content. I got more videos coming, more tech coming. Waiting for some new stuff to come out so I can preview that. So that's the end. Thank you very much for checking in, and have a good day.